A while back, I made a tutorial on how to make a switch layer, a rig, and a pin bone mouth, and I kind of wanted to follow up on that tutorial and make it kind of better. The audio quality in it wasn't that great, so I'm just going to kind of redo the whole thing and also improve a few things on this one that I messed up and realized afterwards. So to show them off, the first one we have is the switch layer. This one I would recommend to just be your most common to go to. It's the easiest to animate, it's very clean, it's very just kind of universal on all characters. You just make some slight changes and each one is just ready to go. I will show that off real quick. You have two lists that you can choose from. I have this list right here that drops down, and then you drop down again to get to your emotions, or you can come up to this tool right here. Whoops, I accidentally hit it. Or you can come up to this tool right here and you get this, and then depending on which file is selected, you can do a drop-down menu and change it. In the tutorial, I will actually have a smart dial to do this as well. Honestly, no real method is the wrong method. Just depends on how much you are doing kind of talking in the animation and which you want to kind of mess with while you are animating. I'd recommend a dial because I think it's the fastest, and then you have each character kind of flushed out just right there, and you just have to highlight each character file on their bone layers, and then you just control the mouth. But that's up to you. If you do any of these, the pin bone or the rig, you will have to have a smart rig for the mouth on the main bone layer to control it. Or if you do this, you will always have to go back to the mouth layer to animate it. But if you are doing a unique mouth shape, this is the one to go for because you don't want to have to keep creating unique mouth shapes for your switch files. So this one would be worth making if you have some kind of animation where you have some unique mouth. So this one is real quick. The rig. As you can see, it's kind of a little, what's the word I'm looking for here? Limited, I guess, in how it moves. You can get some interesting shapes with it. You could actually get every mouth shape you'd need out of it, but it's very limiting in what it can do. So this one is probably the one I'd recommend to use the least, but depending upon what you're making, this may be perfect for something. Again, just use these with your own discretion. And then finally, we have the pin bones. And this one is probably my favorite, not because it's easy or the most convenient, just because it's kind of fun to use. It's very easy to manipulate. You can bring this down. Everything's kind of cleanly labeled because you can color the bones. And you can actually, if you use your bone manipulate tool, your bone grab tool, you can grab multiple bones. And then I'm holding shift here to grab these. And then you go to your transform tool, you just drag all of those down, and voila, you've got a new shape. Then you can just deselect them, and there you go. So this is one that we will cover at the end. We're going to do these in the order I showed. So we'll start with the switch layer, then we will go to the rig, and then we will go to the pin bones. So let's get into that. When making a switch layer kind of mouth talk file, you are going to want a reference layer or at least have an idea of what you're going for. This is one I pulled from a Reddit page. I'll link it in the description. This is kind of the one I used for my original mouth that I made. You don't have to follow this one. It's just kind of a generic cartoon chart. I'd recommend finding the style your kind of animation is in and basing your mouth on that, obviously. But this is a very kind of universal phrase syllable sheet, I don't know what you want to call it, of how your mouth should look. So you can just base it on this. So I'll shrink that down as reference. Shrink it a little more. Keep that up there. And we'll start by making our first mouth. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get yourself a group file. We'll just label this we'll just do the lowercase AI because that's what the first one's labeled as. And we'll make this the inside. Just going to grab a simple shape here, center it. The most important thing to do is to make sure your coordinates are centered because you want all your mouths stacked on top of each other in the exact same place. That way when you're switching between them, they don't just randomly, it's like here, then it's here, then it's here, then it's here. You want it all in the exact center. So it looks like it's got a little curve right there. We'll drag this down. On all honesty, this thing I'm using right here is just so you guys can follow alongside. Normally when I make a mouth, I don't normally follow the reference. I make it how I want the character to look. If you're doing a female character and you want to add lips, you can obviously add those on top. This is just kind of the raw base of it. Paint it. Oh, why did it zoom in so much? All right. Let me fix my view. Now we're going to change the inside. It's a little too dark. That'll work. And next we are going to make the tongue. The tongue is a very basic shape. You can add more points to it if you need to, but normally you're not going to manipulate it much unless it's for some specific scene. It's a little too dark. Brighten it up a bit. We'll call that good. And don't worry about it overlapping for the moment. We'll fix that at the end. Well, not at the end, when I'm done adding the teeth, I guess. So next is teeth. I guess AI doesn't have teeth, so we don't actually need that for this one if we're going by the example. So go to masking, hide all. Now I know it cuts off right here. You can actually fix that by going to the bottom layer and selecting the masking tab inside the, well, bottom layer. For us, it's the inside layer. And then you're going to choose, or check the box, exclude strokes, hit apply. And if you just saw right there, it jumped over it. We'll hit OK. We'll now render it out. And there we go. Now, if these lines are too thin for you, this is because I'm making the mouth kind of bigger than I normally would. So let's actually shrink it down to an actual mouth size. So it'd be about right there. We'll bring that up. Yeah, it looks more like a mouth. Got to bring that tongue back a little, I think. So we'll make that tongue a little bigger, I think. That's better. Sorry, no, it's minor details. The next thing you're going to want to do is group these together. So we're going to group this file together. We're going to convert this to a switch layer. And we're going to name this at the end, and I'll show you why. Well, actually, we'll just name it right now. We'll name it Smile. And then we'll make the next mouth. So you can actually just duplicate this one for the next mouth. So we'll just duplicate it, make it ESC. And if you're noticing, the reason I'm naming them so weird things is because that's just kind of the abbreviated versions of these. You can name them whatever you want, whatever makes it most convenient. I'm just doing it how I normally would name it. So we don't need the tongue on this one, so we'll name this one to teeth. We'll delete the tongue. And we'll grab some teeth. And there we go. Now, as you notice, it kind of curves up. So what we're going to do is we can just split, and then you can go to your curvature tool, add some kind of curves to it. You don't really want them on the side. I should have deselected those. And we'll just drag this a little upwards. Bring this a little down. That's a little too low. We kind of want it centered. There we go. And we're going to grab this one, copy it, paste it, bring it down. Then we'll put this layer back over the top. And looks like we need to bring this one up a little higher. Go back to our curvature tool, drag slightly to make it more curved. That looks pretty good. So we'll keep that. Then we'll just close that up, duplicate AI again because we're going to make the LTH kind of sound effect. So LTH. Only kind of need Oh no, we still need the tongue. Yeah, so we'll add the teeth layer. And the good thing about this is you can actually pull from old stuff. So we're just going to copy these teeth, paste them, move them up slightly, because as you can see, they're kind of more faded. You can kind of squish them down so it kind of fits kind of how that looks, but I prefer kind of just keep them regular, kind of in the whole mouth. Then for our tongue, oops, I created more points. I didn't know I did that. Go back to our curvature tool, add some shape to it, and that's pretty good. We'll call that good. Looks like it gets a little wider at the bottom, so we'll just extend this out a little. There we go. Duplicate AI again, because the U kind of sound effect isn't super essential, I've found, but a lot of people seem to like to have it, so we're just going to have it. So it's kind of a squished version. A little bit. It's got a little bit more character to it, it looks like. The tongue. Smaller. So that will be our U. I gotta make the back a little bigger, it looks like. So curvature tool again. Extend this down. Bring this down. Go back to curve. Oh, it's harder than it looks. Yeah, I don't normally use U if it's not obvious. All right, and the next one is probably going to be the easiest to make. We're going to, again, duplicate AI. Just simply named it ORW. Then, actually, I'm going to put Q on it because a lot of people forget this one's Q too. So, go back to inside, delete this, create a new one, go to shape, center it, paint it. Oops, did not mean to do that. I'm going to snag some color from here. Just copy this right here. Paste it. There we go. And bring that. Oh wait, no, we can bring this one down actually a tiny bit. Shrink it down. Let's make sure it looks correct. It's probably okay, right? I'm afraid it might be a little too big. I'm gonna make it a little smaller just to be safe. Bring it down a little more. Okay, test it one more time. Yeah, we'll call that good. Next one will be the rest position, which you can just make a simple layer for this one. You don't really need a file for it. We'll call it BMP, because those are also the sound effects it can make. We'll just, looks like A starts about here. You want to try to keep stuff generally the same size. Actually, we could pull A for this, and I'll show you how. Copy that, paste it here. We'll get rid of the original one I drew, and we'll just simply delete the top layer, grab these 2 points, go to our curvature tool, sharpen them a bit, grab this here, go back to our curvature tool, bring this down. Hang on, I'm going to just turn this on so we can just use one tool. Oops, I was trying to grab that. I don't know why that shortcut didn't work. There we go. I don't know why it was still sharp. All right, let's center it up a little bit. Let's make sure it looks correct. Now, what I like to do with this one is I like to soften these edges. So you can go to your width tool, and I normally take them down to 10 instead of 100. It just adds a little bit of kind of flavor, I guess is the right word. This one's kind of a steep incline, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Yeah, we'll call that good. And then just make sure it lines up good. I think that works. All right, and the last one is FV. So for this one, you could just actually go back to your ESC. We'll duplicate it. This one will be FV. And in all honesty, we don't need this bottom layer of teeth. So we'll just delete that, bring this down, grab this, bring it down. And this bottom layer is all we really care about. So you're going to want to add more points to it. So it looks like it's got 1 point, 2 points, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we'll hit this button. We got 5. Let's grab these 3 points. Now it'll give us 7. So we'll zoom in a little bit so we can work a little closer to it. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I miscounted because I forgot about the cheeks. So we'll grab these 2. So we did want to hit that one more time. All right. Next thing we'll do is bring this down to give it kind of that boxy shape it has. Then we'll bring these 3 up. Now I know it looks funky right now. We'll fix that in a second. I'm going to grab these 4 right here. Go to our curvature tool. You can either hit the shortcut C or hit this right here. Hit the sharp angles. I'm going to extend that out a little bit. Deselect our stuff. Bring these up. And it looks like we got a little red showing, so we got to bring these up more. So I'm just going to probably have to grab everything. Okay. Now I'm just going to grab these. This. Looks a little funky. Maybe we need to bring the teeth down. Looks pretty good. Go back to inside. Grab this, move it over slightly. That way we can move this too. Move this over and this. Then we'll grab these 2. Go back to our curvature tool, pull slightly, and there is our F. I'm going to correct this one a little bit. There we go. There's our F. Make sure it's in the right place. Looks correct to me. So there is smile. And now what we're going to do to simply make the frown is we could just simply grab all these, duplicate this, and name it frown. But we're actually not going to do that yet. And the reason why we're not going to do it is because we want to make the dial. So if we make the dial first and then we link all these to that dial, then we only have to make the dial once. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new group. Name this switch, mouth switch. Oops. Why did I forget the W? There we go. Mouth switch. And then we're going to add this as a switch layer. Grab this. Add a dial. Now you're going to want more than one dial because you're going to want one for emotions, and then you're going to want one for, I guess, syllables, sound effects. So you've got this. Then copy it, and you can just paste it. Whoops, that was not the right button. What did I hit to do that? Did I not hit Command C? I don't know why that didn't work the first time. That was weird. All right, so we've got emotion, and now we've got the dial to switch between them. So I think that's everything we need, right? Motion. Yeah, that should work. So for these two, you're going to want two different things. For this one, you're going to just need a simple happy and sad kind of label. For this one, you're going to want something probably a little more complex. So I'm going to show you kind of what you're going to want with it. So probably you're going to want a second layer here, actually. So we'll name this just labels. Draw a simple line, and I'll show you why I'm doing this in a second. You can color this if you want to, just make sure it's big enough that you can see it. Okay, move this over. Oh wait, actually, I'll keep this centered. That way we can use this as our frame of reference. We're going to move the whole thing. Where's our bone at? I want to get it right on that point. Okay, hang on. It's about on point. Very close. Overshot a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Then I'm going to just grab both of these, copy, paste, rotate. Oops. Rotate backwards. And there we go. We've now got, looks like 8 syllables. And let's make sure the bone rotates between them all. So I'm going to grab these two. Oh, one thing I forgot to do. Take away these bones' strength. They have to have no strength. All right, now I can test this. Yeah, looks like a clock and works like one. All right, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 syllables. So the last one will technically be a blank, so you won't need it. Now that we've got our labels in place, we're going to label our bones with actual labels. So I've already labeled them really quick. And the next thing we are going to do is put, well, I already put that too, but these bone constraints, it's just this tool right here. As you can see, you select it, then you put angle constraints, and it adds that. I was going to put them on this one, but it's actually really hard to nail down where you want them, especially on a dial. So the dial is more productive to you, probably free floating. If you want to add them, you can. It just will take some getting used to and learning how the coordinates work. I guess restraint coordinates of how those work. So you can see I tried 200, didn't work. I'm not going to fool with it anymore. So I'm just going to roll with that. So back to labels real quick. We're going to add some text. We'll just do happy and space over a little bit. Sad. I think that's pretty explanatory enough. Might want to make those a little further spaced apart. Call that good. Bring that up to about, what's centered with this. So bring that up to about here. Check and make sure, yeah. Looks like it'll point to them correctly. We can bring them a little closer together, it looks like. All right. Now that we've got our labels, we can go back to bones, and let's now put the smart dials in. Oops, we want the action tab. We'll add new. This is our talk dial right here. All right, first one is frame 1. We'll just reset the angle so it locks in on 0. Then we'll go to about 6 probably. Go there. And since this one is just like an instant switch, you don't really need much spacing between them. You just want enough, oops. You just want enough to where you can tell when it's switched, so it's just not instantaneous. So we're going to just add a little space in between here, some negative space, and rotate it around. And I know this one's going to be blank. We're just going to do it anyway, so we can just do a full circle. All right. And now on frame 0. You will want to label these, by the way, with maybe some pictures or sound effects. I'm not going to fool with that today, though. So first one. Oops. We want this one. We'll set it to AI. Next one. ESC. Third one. LTH. Fourth. U. Fifth. ORQ. Seventh. Sixth. And seventh. There we go. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to then duplicate this layer, and I'm going to show you. Oh wait, we gotta. Oh wait, no, we don't need that yet. Duh. So yeah, we're going to duplicate the layer. We're on frame 0, so that's good. We'll name this one sad, or you can also name it frown. We'll just leave it as sad. That way we have the same emotion. This one actually is very easy to manipulate too. In AI, I'm just going to grab this, and we're literally just going to flip it. In ESC, same thing. Just flip actually this whole layer. So, oh, right. Forgot about that. So you probably just want to actually, so it stays in line. Bring it down a little bit. Most of them, you're just going to flip the inside and fix the tongue a little bit. This one looks a little different, maybe a little smaller. So I guess we'll just do that. Maybe like less confident is the idea. Quieter, because you're sad. BMP, literally all there is to it. Let's make sure that looks well with. Be a little high. You might want to bring it down a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then for this one's actually going to be a little more difficult than just moving the inside, because you're actually going to have to put a little bit of emotion. Oh, right. Pull this down so it gives it a little bit of emotion. So we'll drag that down, reorientate it a little bit. Bring that up. Grab the teeth. That should be good, actually. All right, the next thing we're going to do is just add our emotion dial. Move this back a little bit, it looks like. Yeah. Grab this. We'll have happy for one, sad for the other. Then we'll go sad. Yeah, I think we go on our guide generically more happy. All right. Now we can test everything on frame 0. Good. Now the interesting thing is, even on happy, these all stay the same, see? So, this makes this fairly easy to do. Just either memorize this dial, what is what, or remember to label it, which normally I just label it with either a picture or just a simple letter to know which is which. Just normally the most common kind of syllable reference to it. So that's our first mouth. And now that we're done with this, I'm going to just delete that. We'll group all that together. Oops, still on frame 1. Hide that since we're going to move on. This next one is just the simple rig mouth, which, again, is very simple. All we're going to do is build, well, first we're going to want a bone layer. And we'll name this one rig. We've got the inside. This one you can be a little less specific on the coordinates for. I just like centering it so everything's nice and even. Then paint the inside. Next is teeth. Last but not least is the tongue. Well, I was going to try and grab the tongue color from this, but so I could keep consistency. Because the thing you want to try and keep is as much consistency as you can in case you use a mix of each. So we'll go to here, copy that. There we go. And we're going to use masking again, if that wasn't obvious. Exclude strokes, enter. And now we've got this to where it outlines it actually, and it doesn't look super ugly. And, oh, right, I should hide that again so it doesn't confuse you guys. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is decide if how many dials you're going to need. So for this one, we're going to need one to expand the mouth to make it wider and shorter. We're going to need one for the edges to make them sharper and smoother. Then we're going to need one to open and close it, so that's already 3 dials. We're going to need one to move the teeth, so that's a 4th dial. One to move the tongue, that's a 5th dial. One to expand and contrast the tongue, so a 6th dial. Is that it? I think that's it. So 6 or 7 dials. So get started on that. And these we can actually just do complete constraints on because they're going to be just the same all around. So we can just grab the first one and just duplicate it a ton of times. That way we keep the same size. So copy, paste. Grab both, copy, paste. Grab all 4, copy and paste. And I think we only need 7, but we'll see. All right, we'll label the first one open/close. And, oh, yeah, show the label on all these. Expand/contrast. Oh wait, yeah, teeth. Up, down. Oops. What's the next one we'll need? going to try to keep these all together to make them easy. Tongue. Up. Down. Tongue. Expand. Contrast. You may want to also add a tongue control in to make it move left and right. So let me move these a little further apart. So unless I can think of another reason to need another teeth one, I guess we could just recycle this. Just grab all these and move them over a little bit. So tongue, left, right. And what was the last one we needed? Expand, contract. Oh yeah, the edges. So we'll just do sharp, smooth. Is there anything else we need? Open, close, expand, contrast, up, down. Can't think of anything else, so I don't think we need that last bone for anything, but we'll keep it around just in case I think of something. So we'll start with this one. Smart action. For the first one, we'll move it all the way over. We'll just reset it. Oh, wait, I did that backwards. Keep it there. Move it all the way over. We'll create another smart action. Keep it there. Move it all the way over. This is just to give us 24 frames of a second smooth frame animation. That's why I'm doing 2. Unlike the other one, which was just a switch layer where we didn't need that because they were already, well, animated. I mean, not animated. They were just still images. So for sharp, we'll keep it how it is. So we'll just grab the screen real quick just to give it. And then here, we'll just go as sharp as possible. Depending on how the bottom one, maybe I should make that one sharper too. So yeah, we'll make it a little sharper. And here we'll grab here. You probably want a midway actually between sharp and smooth here. So we'll grab them. We'll just do kind of a mid. Yeah, that'll do. Actually, I should do that. Place this here. Oops, I should grab that. Then, make sure before you do anything that you copy this so you have it for the final one. Otherwise, you may get a little wonky looking one. So we'll go to Smooth 2. We'll paste the final version. We'll go back to Smooth 1. Grab this version. Paste it here. There we go. Go back to our main line and we're going to test it real quick on frame 1. Seems to be working. Good. All right, next one I'm going to test is up, down. All right, so we'll go back to frame 0. Open, close. Then do it again. Now, depending on how wide you want your mouth, that will affect, I guess, your decisions here. I'm just going to expand it. Oh no, actually, this is probably as wide as I want it. So we'll keep it there. Oh, right. We'll drag that over here. Then we want kind of a midway, so that will probably be my midway. We'll copy that. Go here, paste it. Then here we'll just finish closing it up a little bit. Now obviously you can tell that the edges are not closed. That will be taken care of by the Sharp Smooth tool. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. You just kind of got to get this piece right here where these 2 points are basically touching. All right. Oops, I did that on 25 instead of 24. Hope the other one's not that way. Now we're good. We'll go back to mainline. We'll test it real quick. Seems to be working. You know what I forgot? I forgot the edges to make him so he can smile and frown. That's the one I forgot to make. So we'll make sad. So that'll be our emotion dial. All right. I knew I was forgetting something. I just couldn't think of what it was. All right. Now we need to go back. Grab all. Just bring that together. Oh wait, no, that's expand. This is probably as wide as we want it. So we'll grab that, go back here. Then we'll shrink it down a little bit. That'll be our midway. Paste that. And we'll try to get those 2 points touching again. All right, that should be good. Next we'll do teeth. Why does that say actions? Oh, right. Make sure you're always on the bone layer when you do this, or you're gonna not actually pair these as smart actions and they'll be paired as something else. I think it'd be a morph, if I remember right, if you do it inside the layer itself, but I'm not 100%. Just reset that. That way they're in the right place. Oh wait, no. You want that over here. Bring them. Actually, you know what? That will be our midway, I think. And we'll make this, because what if you don't want any teeth? So since this is our midway, we'll grab that. Oh, I'm in teeth down. So we actually want the opposite here. Okay, I think that's correct. Test it real quick on mainline. Go to rig. Oh, that's not a good sign. I wonder why it's doing that. Whatever, does it? No, it's still doing it. Let's find out why. It's not there. Doesn't look like anything's wrong with it. I guess it's just a glitch. Oh, it's this, isn't it? Yeah, some of your dials will cross-contaminate and mess with it a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Back to frame 0. And we'll do tongue up and down next. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I want the kind of expand contrast. Oh, you know what? I may have not wanted to actually mess with these two. I'm afraid I might have screwed something up if I did that with expand and contrast. I may delete that. Yeah, I'm just going to bring this down. The reason I did that is when I do the tongue left and right, I'll probably, or expand and contrast, I will be using those those points, I guess. So it will actually mess with it if I try to move multiple things with one dial. So, as you saw with the original kind of outline of this thing, sometimes it can't be helped, but if you can help it, you don't want to cross-contaminate with your dials. Oops. Go back in here. Yeah, tongue left and right. So tongue left. We'll do a little further. Tongue right. Okay. Now let's do tongue expand and contrast. Wait, did I? Yeah, I moved it. That is the outline. That explains a lot. We'll just make sure this is correct. Oh wait, we only want 2 points. That's all we really care about. Oh, we're going to have to involve this point, I guess. So we'll make that very skinny. Then over here, Make it very wide. Now we're going to test all that, make sure it worked right. All right, probably should delete what we've already done so we can see. Okay, that's working. That's working. That seems to be working. Okay, good. Only thing we have left is the emotion itself, happy and sad. So we'll do that next. First one. Second. Then we're just going to grab the outside. Grab these 2 points. We'll just drag it down to be sad. Here. Just reset the points to keep them in the right place. We'll do the same here. If we're happy, they're already kind of happy, so we'll just drag it up. Actually, maybe we should make a midway point. Just kind of a meh mouth. There we go. All right, now let's test it. Go back to main line. I don't know what that glitch is all about. All right. There you go. You can get kind of an ugly crying with that one. Move the tongue down a little bit. Yeah, that can work. All right. Seems to be working just fine. So there is your basic mouth rig. This one I don't use a lot, but some people seem to enjoy it. That's why I made it. And the last one we are going to do is using pin bones. This one was actually inspired, a lot of work came from, like a lot of the inspiration for the work for the pin bone mouth came from, I think it's pronounced Moho33. You can check out her YouTube channel. She's really good at what she does on Moho. So I'd recommend actually going to her channel if you want like some quality Moho content. We'll name this one pin. And the first thing we're going to need is the inside. I can never remember what, vector was. So, inside. Now make sure you do center this one because where your kind of coordinates are will help you when setting up your pin bones in a minute. So we'll make that a little bigger. Color it. Okay, that's the color of the tongue, but we are going to need that. So actually I'm going to duplicate and copy that. You'll see why in a second. So bring this back up. We'll just make that 0. Rehide that. Then we'll make tongue. Shrink that down. That should be good. Last one we're going to do, teeth. Now for the teeth, you're going to just want them off panel, and like when we do the mask, so you'll see why in a sec. Because they are actually the easiest thing to do. So the first thing you're going to probably want to do is add the bone pins to everything, but we're going to need a guide first. So let's make ourselves a guide. This is just because you cannot see what you're actually making as you do it. And make it a color that is not in your mouth already. So I'm going to use blue because that'll contrast really well. Maybe dark blue. It's a little too bright. There we go. I want kind of a pattern like this. Then we're going to center it. The reason, it should now overlap our points. And it almost does perfectly. Just going to shrink them down to 5. That way I have a more precise points. All right, now time to add our pin bones. You don't need to do them in any specific order, just make sure you get them kind of on these dots. Because you want them as close as possible. They don't need to be directly on top of them, but you want them as close as you can get. Okay, and the last ones we're going to want are on the teeth. That one up just a little more so it's in the same spot. All right, now we're going to color coordinate these. Well, actually, first take away the bone strength before I forget to do that. So set that to 0. Then you're going to want to color coordinate. So the first we're going to do is the tongue. Actually, let's grab all these real quick. The reason, because it'll be easier to recolor the tongue. So I'll make the outside just blue. The inside we'll make, let's do orange. Yeah, that doesn't blend, so you can see it. And then the teeth we'll make, let's do yellow. No, that's too close to orange. Pink maybe? Yeah, pink is good. It contrasts. We can now get rid of our guide, and now we're going to link each of these bones to their point. So we're first going to go to inside, and what you're going to use is these tools right here. The shortcut is I and, oh wait, no. Sorry, we're going to use the letter B and I. B will be to grab the bone. I will be to grab the point. And then you want to bind the point to that bone. And we're going to repeat this for a while. So, bind, grab, bind. Yeah, this is going to be tedious. But it's very easy to make. Once you know how to make this, you just kind of remember it. And make sure you're using the bind points tool and not the bind layer tool, or you'll bind the entire layer just to kind of one point, which you do not want to do, because then you'll just be controlling it from one kind of bone, and then it destroys the purpose of making this thing. All right, next I'm going to bind the teeth. These you are just going to grab the entire bone, the bone, and then you're going in the bind points, just grab the entire shape and bind it to each bone. So down here we'll do the same thing. All right, those two are now bound to each other. And the last thing we got to do is the tongue. Oh, I am now on the tongue layer. All right, bind, grab, grab, bind, grab, then grab the point, bind. Like I said, very tedious and very easy. All right, now we should be done. The only other thing I'm going to do is test it, and then I'm going to add something to make the edges sharper. Cool, that works. That works. Awesome. Now, as you've noticed, the teeth are still showing and the tongue can go outside. You're actually going to want something to fix that. Now, if you do want to make the tongue go outside, because some people do like that, so they can have like someone stick out their tongue and stuff, you can actually add a switch layer. This also applies to your rig right here. You could add a switch layer with a dial. I should have done that with the tongue to make it pop out. I'll actually do it on this one. That way you can see how to do it on the previous one too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mask this layer. So hide all, then go to your bottom layer, masking, exclude strokes. Cool. And for the tongue, we'll come back to that. We're first going to make the bones we need to make that. So add new bones. Make sure no bones are selected or they'll get parented together. As you can see, none of these bones are parented to each other. So deselect, grab, dial 1, just copy and paste it. Bring it down here, make sure it's not parented, good. Grab them both, take away bone strength. And now I'm going to add bone constraints to these so they just can't infinitely turn. All right, the first thing we're going to do is show the labels. I'll name this one tongue in/out. The next one will be, we'll call it edges. Sharp / smooth. All right. We'll do that one first because it'll be the easiest. Go to your smart actions. Then we'll I can never remember. Why isn't it working? That's why. I need to grab it first. I don't know why it wasn't popping up and it just confused me. All right. That's good. Oh, yeah. Then we'll just go completely extreme to just one curvature. I doubt you'll ever use that much, but you never know. And one thing I forgot to do was rig this one. Did I rig this one? I did not. Yeah, I had a brain fart for a second and forgot what I was doing. Curvature tool, sharp. All right, now we'll test it, make sure it worked. Frame 1, pin, and good, good. Let's see how they move. Yeah, I'm sure that could be useful. Makes a good smile. All right, last thing we'll do is tongue in and out. Would animated layer work for this actually? Sometimes. No, it wouldn't because it would still be masked, so we need to make one that's not masked. So let's put this as a group. So we'll have to go to frame 0. So the first thing you're going to want to do is group these together. I was going to try to do an animated layer, but that won't work. I just realized. Then we'll duplicate it and call this one out. Put the tongue on top, that's the most important. Group these together. Then call this tongue. Switch it to a switch layer, that's the most important. I almost forgot that. Now, let's make sure these look good still when animated. We just test that, make sure nothing got weird. Okay, that looks fine. What about in? Okay, not noticing any problems, good. Cool, cool. So it should work. You can do this exact same principle on the rig one too. Right, grab that. Then this. Now again, this is a switched layer, so you don't actually need the 24 frames a second kind of dial. I just like doing that because it just keeps consistency. So we're going to go back to about, looks like 12, and we'll set it to out. And then On in, we'll do the same thing. Go to frame 12, set it to in, and looks like out is the dominant one. Let's switch it to in, so it's the dominant one. Now let's test our rig. Frame 1, bring that down, bring the teeth down, sharpen the edges, widen the edges, tongue in, tongue out. Okay, looks like everything is working just fine. So that is how you could make 3 different mouth rigs. I hope this tutorial helped you, and yeah, hopefully this makes your animations just that much better. I do recommend using this one as it is the most common to see, especially in just kind of freelance animation. It is the easiest, but obviously all of these have their place, and you could even use them in kind of a mix and match fashion. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.
Destruction!